I turned to my wife and I said, Gwenna, I got the name for the church. And she's like, what? She's waking up. And I'm like, I think I have the name for our church. She's like, what is it? And I said, As Is Church. And she said, As Is Church. What is that? And I'm like, no, As Is Church. Like you buy a car as is.
Welcome to Jesus in the Upper Left, where we're talking about gospel multiplication in the Pacific Northwest.
Hey, welcome to the Jesus in the Upper Left podcast. We are here today with a very special guest named Scott Bradley, and we can't wait to get to talk with you, Scott. We're glad you're here. And my name is Gabe Kolstad. I'm from Westside Community Church in Beaverton, Oregon, and I'm joined by Tim, my co-host here. Tim, say hi.
Hey, and I'm Tim, and I'm at Western Seminary, leading a couple cohorts, and pastored a church for a long time here in Portland, and get to help out with Multiply PDX with church planting stuff in the region.
Super fun. Hey, Scott, we are really glad that you're here and you're from As Is Church. I know Tim's got a little bit of even background on this. And so Tim's going to kick us off with this.
Oh, yeah, I got some great background. I live in East Portland, and if you don't know anything about As Is, you're going to be just like me, driving around East Portland a number of years ago, and remember seeing an A board out in front of, I think it was out in front of a school, where I was actually driving my kids back and forth, and I saw it, and I had no idea what it was. And as I drove by, I noticed it said church at the bottom. It said As Is Church, and I went, okay, that's a great name, and I don't know anything about that. So, Scott, will you kind of take us back to the beginning and where'd the name come from? Where'd the vision come from? How did God start this thing? Just give us the history and the story.
Yeah, for sure. So you're describing back when we were over on 151st and Gleason. It was in the early years of As Is. We had rented the SDA church over there, and it was just an awesome time of growth. We started this church in our living room about 13 years ago. No church planting organization, no mother church. I had been a pastor prior to this, and we took some time away, but we wanted to continue to be part of the body of Christ, have a church for our kids. We checked around at a few places out here in Gresham, East County, and we just felt like the Lord was calling us to plant a church that was really safe, accepting, and loving of those people who had been through it, the lost, the hurting, the broken, the marginalized. And so I had a small group of people meet in my home, and we started praying about it, and everybody agreed that we should do this. And then I was thinking, man, what should we call this church? Because I wanted to cut through any of the religiosity of the names of churches. Like, we're going to go share God's love with a broken and hurting world. We want the people we're trying to reach, we want them to know what we're about. It didn't matter to me what other churches thought about us. And actually, a lot of people have given us a hard time about the name, like we're some sort of cult. It's just as is, like you accept people as is. So it's nothing weird, but there's a cool story. I was laying in bed one morning next to my wife, and I kind of had just these thoughts, a vision in my mind about walking through a car lot with my friend that owns a car lot. And he's walking me through his car lot. This was in my mind. And he takes me to this car, and he points at the window and says, how does someone purchase this car? And I'm like, I don't know. He says, they buy it as is. And in this vision or this idea that I had in my mind, I thought, that's it. That's how God accepts us. We come to him as we are. We sign our hearts over him. We sign the title over to him, and he does the restoration. It's like when you buy a car as is. You're going to remodel it. You're going to restore it. The owner does that. So you place ownership of your life in God's hands. And that's kind of where we came with this. But that morning when I turned to my wife, she was still asleep, and I got excited because I can get pumped up about things, especially visionary type stuff. And I said, Gwenna, I got the name for the church. And she's like, what? She's waking up, and I'm like, I think I have the name for our church. She's like, what is it? And I said, As Is Church. And she said, As Is Church. What is that? And I'm like, no, As Is Church. Like you buy a car as is. And she was like, she was not down with it, you guys. She didn't like it at all at first. But I'm like, no, this is it. And so we kind of wrestled with that between us, took it back to our small group, and we all agreed that is what we want to communicate to a hurting and broken world, that you're loved and accepted just as you are, and we are going to live that out for the rest of our life. And that's what we've been doing. So we did bounce around a few times early on, trying to find the right spot. But when you saw us over at Gleason, because that's the school we were at, that's when we really started to take off and see that our true calling and presence was East County, Rockwood, East County area. And we've been in this community, this neighborhood for the past 10 to 13 years.
Wow. So where are you right now? Because your bookshelves look a little different than mine.
I'm in my wife's office, actually, in our community center over here. Our church is located in what we call the Hope Center. It's our community center, and it's actually the donation room where we take donations for clothes, shoes, workout gear for the youth program that we run here, where we have a program called the Underground PDX. You can see the logo up behind me, and it's a big part of our ministry and where a lot of our funding has come from because of the work we do with youth violence prevention, intervention, and outreach. We basically run a gym where we began working with troubled youth. We work with a lot of gang members here, especially in our community. We partner with all the schools. They get referrals from the counselors, and it's just a beautiful thing that's happening. But this room is Gwenna's office where she stores and keeps everything and brings the kids back here to get some shoes if they don't have any. So,
wow.
Scott, can you give us for listeners that maybe don't know Portland really well yet, or don't know your corner of Portland, will you tell us and kind of educate us a little bit about Rockwood?
That's good.
Yeah, Rockwood would be considered East Portland, West Gresham. It's kind of the dividing line, basically 160th, 162nd out to Gresham, 202nd. But it's the most diverse population in Multnomah County. This area is highly populated. A lot of immigrants, refugees. There are just so many challenges facing this community. But for us specifically, our presence and our location is in the most dangerous, diverse, and densely populated neighborhood in the state of Oregon. Within 1 mile of this community center, this campus, 88 languages are spoken. A lot of, like, next door at Rockwood Village, the apartment complex, there's 900 residents, 400 youth and kids. It's subsidized housing, and the primary languages are Swahili, Somali, Spanish, and Ukrainian. It's not English. And then on this block, it's high, very dangerous. Rockwood Village is the number one address for DHS calls in Multnomah County. So there's just a lot of challenges, a lot of oppression, and also we're known for a lot of gang activity right here. And so even right up the street, it's called Four Corners, where we have just neighborhoods that are warring with one another. And so many of the folks in our church, people we minister in the community, people who are coming through the Hope Center 7 days a week, they're deeply traumatized, whether it's their story of immigration or whether it's the gang activity, the broken families, just the challenges living in poverty. And so we believe that God brought us here for a reason, that this is where we should be shining the light. And we've been called to love people just as they are. And we're not here to save any of these people. We're not here to hey, we're going to go save you and fix all your problems. We're just called to come stand in solidarity with our neighbors and love them right where they're at. And that's what we try to do on a daily basis, literally 7 days a week. I tell people all the time, even I was just down, we work in the Juvenile Justice Center. We do fitness mentorship and spiritual mentorship. And I tell them, look, you don't have to ask me where I stand on things. Just look where I'm standing. Literally look where I'm standing. Where, you want to know what I'm about, see where I'm standing. Rockwood and then the juvie and the jails and all that. See where I'm standing. And look at who I'm standing with. That should tell you everything you need to know about me as a Christian, as a man, as a pastor. And I take that, take it very seriously. We got to be loving the people that most people have thrown away, So
that's strong, man. That's convicting too. The language is great. I love that.
Yeah, right.
That's a great way to look at it. Hey, I got a chance to go out and visit you, and Tim, I don't know if you did as well, and get to see some of the activity. You made me do some of these jumpy things at a CrossFit activity,
Yes.
and my legs hurt for days afterwards. But you have one of the most unique ministries that I've personally ever witnessed, and I love it. I mean, it's so beautiful the way that you've integrated the different parts of the community, and there's this whole educational thing going on. But I think it'd be neat for people just to hear maybe some of the highlights from what you've seen God building out there in Rockwood. Like, what's your favorite stuff? What's a favorite moment?
Yeah, there's been a lot that we've experienced over the past 13 years. Like I said, when we started, our heart was really to just go reach people for the gospel, not bring them to church. That's kind of that church planter mindset. Let's go change the world. And we were very missional in our approach. And I'm a very missional mindset type of guy. So I'm always wanting to go on mission and be active in my faith. And so as we were planting as is, we had in the early years, we were very strong in recovery, people in recovery, because I'm in recovery. I have a long, crazy story that is really what drives all of this, at least within me. And we had a heart. We did a lot of work with the Love Shack ministry. We had laundry trucks that we took out to serve the homeless and homeless camps. In those early years, which is very action oriented, but something really cool that came out of it. My wife and I also had, while we're planting the church and doing life, we had started training CrossFit on the side over here and doing fitness. And we really loved it. Like, what was happening at the CrossFit gym was powerful. Like, it was community, it was suffering together, it was learning things. It was like everybody coming together. It didn't matter what background you were from. And we were like getting coached. And we just were like, wow, honestly, what's happening over here in the gym is they're acting like the church better than we are at the church. We're getting together for church services, and they're actually doing life together with people 7 days a week. And it just started to become part of who we were. So we grew in that as we were growing the church. And then along the way, I reached out to the city of Gresham, because we're in partnership with the city and a lot of the work that we do, and said, hey, on the side, I'd like to start training kids that are fatherless kids, because that's kind of how I grew up, and maybe gang members and stuff. Like, can you connect me? And then I got connected with the gang outreach workers out here in Multnomah County, and we started training these kids, middle school kids, just CrossFit, and just loving them and discipling them. And it was awesome. It was powerful. And I just started working with kids from different cultures. I didn't really understand the challenges facing the Latino community and the immigrant community and the refugees out here until I actually started spending time with them. I mean, I had this idea of what we're supposed to do, but not until I started spending time with these kids and families. Like, whoa, they're facing challenges and hardship that I had no idea. And I grew up with a father in prison, and I've been abused, I've been neglected, I've been all this. And these guys, especially these kids, these young people, they're like facing things that I had no idea about. And back in 2016 when we started that, it was like these kids are like coming to these fitness classes afraid that their parents are going to get deported and picked up by ICE. Like, this was going on back then. And I'm like, what is going on here? I didn't realize like this was really happening to people. And like, kids' parents are getting picked up. And I'm like, you ain't touching our kids. You start to love these people. And it's like, it got a little spicy, And so I really grew. I think that has been one of the highlights, is going out of our comfort zone and spending time with people that you think you know what they're going through, but until you spend some time with them, you're like, okay. I think here's what I would say. I've always been considered evangelist, like going out and evangelizing and sharing the good news. Spending time with the poor and with these kids, especially the gang members and the hardest ones, they evangelized me the gospel. They showed me what the gospel really was by just spending time with them. Like, you learn by spending time with the poor, spending time with people on a daily basis, how privileged they are compared to us with everything that we've got. And I'm like, man, it just blew my mind. So that has been one of the hugest blessings, to open up our lives and ministry. I thought we were going to ministry, but we've been the ones that have been ministered to, and it changes your heart.
Yeah.
So from that, eventually came all of this. Like, it started out with just working out with some kids on the side. The church was growing. There was at one point, Tim, I don't know if you remember, or Gabe, I might have shared this last time we were on, where we were running here in Rockwood multiple services. Like, we were averaging 600-700 people a weekend. Like we were the growing church out here. But that's all we kind of focused on. I mean, we had a midweek thing and a youth group, and then we hit COVID and did some other stuff, and it kind of all fell apart. And Gwen and I were sitting there and we're like, what do we really want to do with our lives? Build an attractional church model, or like go all in on continued the community-based organization model that was really in our hearts. So after COVID, we kind of like, hey, Sundays are great, but what are we doing 7 days a week? That's where we want to spend our time. And so that's when we ended up in this facility, opening up a community center, running 7 days a week. And the heart of that was our ministry of the church, this youth organization, Underground PDX.org. And then we branded the facility, we'd call that the Hope Center, because we did not want to put the name of our church right on the front door. Like, for me personally, I don't know if this is a challenge for anybody who wants to come out here and plant a church or work in Portland. If you ask me, I'm like, let's keep it as practical as possible. For me, if you put the name of your church right on the front door, you're actually excluding a bunch of people that would never come in your doors. But if you just turn your churches into community centers, and to just start doing life with people, like fitness or tutoring or providing meals or classes or schools, like everybody does, then you build a relationship, and then they want to know what you're about. And for us, it happens to be fitness is kind of the key thing for us, but it can be whatever your leadership desires. It doesn't have to be a CrossFit gym. It can be anything. But I think we really found our niche in that, but it has not come without heartache. It has not come out without hardship. So I'll probably share a little bit about that later. But yeah, the fitness has been a cool thing. Seeing people rise up, our leaders rising up, like our partnership with the Portland Rescue Mission, like all these guys coming over from the harbor, getting involved in church. Now half of our staff are men who've come through the harbor. Pastor Josh has come through. He's at Western Seminary now, a homeless drug addict just a few years ago, and these other guys. But we just believe, I just say, if God can do that for me, because that's kind of my story, he can do it for anybody. And so to see the other cool part, Gabe, last time I was on, I think I had Mario with me. I don't know.
Did, yeah. Mario. Awesome.
Mario was one of the kids that came in that very first group, 2015, as 13-year-old kid, gang affiliated. He is now one of our coaches, mentors, leaders.
Awesome.
Oh, guys, I don't know how far I'm going to go with this, but I have to tell you this story. He texted me yesterday, and he said, Scott, I want to meet with you. And I'm thinking, oh, no. Is he going to quit? I don't know. But I'm like, he calls me. He went to this men's retreat over the weekend. And this is Mario, guys. It comes from the hardest background. Like, his family was immigrants. He lives on the block. There have been multiple people killed outside of his apartment complex, gang violence. And he still lives right here. Like, he's faced a really difficult life, and God's doing a powerful thing in his life. His parents split when he was a kid, and he doesn't have real connection with his father. So yesterday he texted me, hey, let's meet. And I'm like, okay. So I go in expecting the worst, because that's kind of how I am. He's like, hey, I got to tell you what happened at this men's retreat. And he just starts weeping. And I've never seen him cry. He's a pretty stoic kind of guy. And he just said the Lord just finally moved in his life over the whole weekend. And he just opened and poured out his heart to these men. And he's just like, it just felt so relieving to see the Spirit cleansing him, all the pain, just the trauma that he'd been carrying. He bottles it up. And I'm crying as he's telling me this. We're in a room over here, and it's like, I just told him how proud I am of him and what God is doing in his life. He's like, that's what I've been wrestling with. Everyone keeps telling me, you're a leader. You're called to this. I work with the youth. I work with the families. I don't believe it about myself. He goes, that's what the Lord is saying. Believe. And I'm like, I'm speaking as like, yes, Mario, this is what I'm talking about. Hear it from the Lord, not just from me and everyone else. But guys, the part that was beautiful was we got through that and he felt affirmed. He's like, hold on. Because I had to go to another meeting. He's like, I have one more thing. He goes, as part of my discipleship, I was supposed to write a letter to someone who I look up to. And he goes, I wrote it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you're going to make me cry. And he's like, he goes, I need to read this to you.
Jeez.
And he read me this most beautiful letter of how much he really respects me and sees what I carry on the daily because I'm with him all the time. But for the first time, he looked me in the eyes. He says, Scott, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're a father figure to me that I never had. And I'm like, bro, Mario, you're killing me. And I just went over and I hugged him and I held him and he cried. And I said, I love you too. And I said, Mario, I know it's been hard not having a father. And maybe you haven't felt worthy because your father hasn't been there. But I want you to know I love you. And I hope you know that you're worthy to be a son. And then he started crying. We're having this like cry fest and it was beautiful. But where that started was me reaching out to a gang outreach worker who brought this kid Mario in 10 years ago. And it's taken 10 years for him to be able to say, I love you. That's the type of ministry we're involved with in Portland and in our churches. It takes time. It takes a lot of time to walk this out with people, especially if they're unchurched and the backgrounds that here in Portland, Rockwood, East County, West Side, it's a different beast altogether. So I could share many stories about that sort of stuff, but when you see it when firsthand, you're like, yeah, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
So Scott, first of all, that's just beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. And I hope as you share that too, that you just feel a ton of validation and affirmation and celebration that God's using you and has been using you and your wife and your team. And that's, as you're sharing these stories, I keep thinking, in probably anyone that's been involved in church planting at all has heard the phrase, it takes all kinds of churches to reach all kinds of people. And so we're not about, of course, any kind of particular model or method. But that said, like what the kind of work that you've been involved in doesn't typically get highlighted when Portland gets highlighted. And so thank you for just sharing that and for certainly for what you've given your life to these last 13 plus years. And I know I was out with visiting Josh, who you mentioned last summer, and he was walking me around behind the Hope Center where you have the summer meals, which if you look on a map sometime, Google Map as is church, and you'll see the little square on the map that is the Hope Center, and you'll see directly next door, like immediately next door, like reach out and touch next door, is the apartment buildings that has, I think you said 900 residents with 44 plus languages. And there's a fence that they just walk through the gate and come into this field behind Hope Center. Was it Wednesday nights during the summer? And just hang out. And it's one of the things that so to think about being a light in that forgotten part of the city is I'm sure there's story after story you could tell, which is wonderful. In this season, as you've hit some really significant challenges, how have you, like, kind of, first of all, just kind of bring us up to speed on what As is experiencing now and some of the changes that you're leading through, and then specifically how are you seeing God show up in that season right now?
Yeah, part of the story is with the beauty of all the work that I've shared about is we've still got to like manage all this and we've got to fund it and we've got to like keep leadership and vision in front of us. And a really cool thing happened after COVID that I kind of led into earlier, where we were kind of rebooting the youth and the church, coming out of a really difficult season. And the city, we started training youth again in a barn. We actually wasn't even this place, was a barn over here. I like taking old things and repurposing them, like old barns, old buildings, people's lives. That's kind of how I think. And so, but the city got a hold of me when they saw the work we were doing with no funding and said, hey, there's funding out here. We have funding now for youth violence prevention, intervention, and outreach. You should apply. And I'm like, okay, this was back in 2021, end of 21, early 2022. And I'm like, okay. So they sent me the link to, make a grant proposal. And I had never done that. I as a church planter, I had never been taught how to write a grant, but I wrote it, and that's how I hired Josh. We got,
wow.
I applied for a full-time position, some CrossFit equipment, because Josh was just volunteering at that time. I'm like, I saw his gift, and we needed somebody to help us run all these youth that are coming through. And so I wrote a grant, just didn't even use ChatGPT at that time, but I just wrote it out of my heart. I was like doing this. But the key, I think the key that I've shared with other people is like I had a long-standing relationship with the city of Gresham for doing this work years ahead of time. Like we had credibility built in the community. It wasn't like we were making it up. So they came to us and said, you should apply for some of this money. And so that was like $80,000 grant. It was for a 1-year position with Josh. And then within just a few months, there was another round of funding that came through the state that was going to be given to Multnomah County, East Multnomah County. And they said, you should apply for that. And I'm like, okay. And they said you could apply up to $250,000. So I applied for it and we got it. And it was all for staffing to build coaches and around the underground. They knew we were faith-based, but it was more around the fitness and mentorship of youth. And then within a year, we got multiple grants because of the work we were doing. So then we went from a staff of 3 people, me, a worship leader, and a part-time kids worker, to running at full capacity for several years of like 20, 25 staff members, running a staff budget on grants that built up very quickly to close to like 45 grand a month just for that. And then we had the church stuff on the side, and it was all funded through these grants. So it was a very quick rise. Well, and fully being told that these will be, reinstated. They're on bienniums every 2 years. And then at the beginning of this year, the first grant got cut due to federal cuts. So that was like a third of that. So we started scrambling because it was unexpected. So we cut staff, we brought it down, and we're like, okay, we can still ride this out with the other grants. Well, by the time June came around, due to federal cuts, state level, and all this, all of our grants were eliminated. So we basically went within a short period of time, $45,000 a month running this staff, running this whole team. And, these families and people that we brought on staff with these grants most of them were already part of the church volunteering, or we were like trying to help them fulfill their dreams and to come on, some of these guys. So then to have to get to this point earlier this summer where it's like 45 grand, close to 50 grand a month to zero, impacting all these families, like it was a shocker, and it was done very unexpectedly. And our church, you got to understand the church side, the tithes and offerings, because of the nature of our ministry, very transitional, not a big church at this point, because we've been just focused on community. The amount of tithes and offerings did not even keep the building open. So this is all, a lot of our eggs were in one basket. We tried to develop partnerships, but so when we hit that rough patch, and it's been rough. We basically, for the past 5-6 months, had to pretty much let go of most of our staff or reduce their hours. My wife went on unemployment. She was running the program, and just is very sad because the work we're doing is so powerful and so important. We were like, we cannot stop being a presence in this community for these kids, these families, no matter what it takes. I mean, even around the church side, we're like, we're putting so much effort, time, energy, and money, even putting on a Sunday service. Like, man, we got to reevaluate that too, because we're just putting so much to that could be given over here. So over the past few months, we've just been trying to navigate this, reduce our staffing budget down to a manageable place, and then seek partnership with other churches, donors. We've done galas, and we've even recently opened up a fully functioning adult membership CrossFit gym here. Just that was never our intention, but wow, that could bring in some sustainable, diverse income for the bigger picture. But it's been the hardest season, and it's just been a strange one because it was so unexpected. Like, Lord, I mean, it's not like I want to question God, although I have at times. Like, who else is burying gang members? Like our youth group, kids from our youth group are being shot. We're in juvenile justice center working with these gang members, and they're off the block from where we're from. Like, we're trying to create this whole holistic community inside out. These families, like, what we're doing is often overlooked, but it's so essential to the kingdom work that needs to be done. And who's going to stand? Who's going to stand in the gaps? That's what we keep saying. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep standing where the Lord has called us to. And it's been hard. And on top of not having the funding, but the trauma that we're carrying with people, it's been a double. I don't know. It's been very difficult, but the Lord has seen us through. We've made a lot of changes. We've done some things, to help get us back on the path. And we hope together, even sharing now, we can find people to partner, people to serve with us, churches to maybe get on board and be financial partners, whatever, because this is kingdom work that's happening. And I really appreciate being able to share about it with you guys.
We recognize that, Scott. It's what made us want to pull you back in here and help to just share this story a bit, because it is so unique what you're doing. It is in such an important part of the city. It is so close to the heart of God, the kind of work that's happening there. And your heart is so strong for it. It's just so compelling when you talk and you share these things, and it draws me in. I know it draws us all in. And I want to push on something that you said, because I'm very intrigued with what you've done. I mean, it sounds like if I'm to summarize, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like what you're saying is you're going to keep going.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're like the unstoppable ministry. You're finding new avenues to do things. You are convinced that the ministry has to exist there, and yet you're willing to let the Lord reshape it a bit. So you're shifting away from maybe a Sunday-centric model, still being the church, serving the community, right?
Yes.
Something very creative that you did recently out of like necessity was you popped up an actual CrossFit gym that's public now, right? Can you tell us more about that? Because I think when I first heard that, I was like, wait, you can do that? Like, it's such a creative idea. And I wonder if other people will feel the same way. But talk to us about that. That's so creative.
Right. I'll talk about that and a couple other things. But the CrossFit gym, it was just a natural progression because we're already running a nonprofit CrossFit affiliate. It just was not membership-based people paying. It was all funded through grants and all that. Like, these kids don't pay for their fitness. It's nothing. It's all based on grants. But we have everything in place here. Full gym, full equipment, an awesome coaching team of wonderful Christian young leaders that not only coach and mentor the kids CrossFit, but they mentor the kids in the community, and they're our leaders in our youth group. So it's just all this crossover. It goes back to Wednesday nights, Tim, like you're talking about, all the work we're doing. But basically, we wanted, guys, here's the truth though, we tried to avoid it. That was never our intention to run an actual, membership-based gym. Because my wife and I, we've still been part of our other CrossFit gym. And it's just 2 miles down the road, and it's a beautiful community. People we love and care. We were committed. We partnered with them with the youth work and that gym for years. Some of our best friends. And for us to say, yep, we got to go start a gym, and actually becomes a potential competitor to them. And we've been coaches with them for many, many years. Like, I've buried people from that gym. I've married people, all of our pastoral duties over there. So it was a really hard decision because we're so, we love that. We love the 346 grit community, but the actual transition to doing this was the natural fit because we have everything in place. We just had to put the structure into running a gym, which has been difficult. So we had that in place, and it was never on our to-do list. It became necessary if we want to keep this going. And so we just started last week. We have classes morning, before work, after work. But the cool part about our gym is that the whole thing, Underground PDX CrossFit, is to fund the nonprofit. We don't, the memberships, every membership sponsors a kid. I mean, we have this all mapped out so that you're not only getting fit and you're not only working with an awesome, very competent coaching team, but you're changing lives. And we've integrated the adult memberships in with all of our youth work. So if someone on here became a member of our gym, they could come to a 6 a.m. CrossFit class on Monday, Tuesday, 6, 9, or 5:30. And then on Wednesdays, we invite the members to come to our Wednesday night, and they're working out alongside the youth. So they're getting also opportunities to volunteer and serve alongside these youth. And when I tell people, hey, like I was just telling some people this morning who were first timers with us at 6:00 this morning, you guys should come out tomorrow night. Oh yeah, all right. What's up? Because a lot of them don't even know. They're still learning about us. I'm like, hey, I'll put you right next to an active game member, and you'll understand. And guess what? They're scared. They hear that, but once they meet this kid, they're going to not even know that that he's been shot and that he has to keep his head on the swivel. But it gives people this chance to cross over into other worlds and spend time with these kids that when you hear a gang member, you're like, oh, that's scary. Or you hear, something like that. And then you come hanging out here. You're like, wow, these are just kids. And so that's kind of how that progressed. But the other thing I wanted to mention, since we're on here about the transition, decentralizing, from a Sunday service and continuing our 7 days a week, we also made the decision to basically pause our Sunday service gathering, our full functioning, worship, all the teams, pausing that and focusing our efforts throughout the week. We still have a group that meets on Sunday mornings, but it's not a full-blown church service. It's they have a pancake breakfast and all this, but it's not me preaching or anything. We're focusing our efforts, and our one of the things that we're doing is asking and looking for a church partner. Hopefully a multi-ethnic partner, hopefully a Latino church or something, to come in and become a partner with us and join us and use this facility as their Sunday morning service gathering, and then partner with us, link arms with us throughout 7 days a week to all this stuff I've been telling you about. And I'm like, I've had a few churches I've had conversations with, but we haven't found the right fit yet, because they got to understand the posture, the presence, and all this stuff. And now I'm learning, now that I've talked to a few churches about possibly partnering with us or leasing space, it might be harder than I thought to find the right partner who isn't just coming in here to play church.
Yeah.
I've had a couple people in here like, we just want to rent on Sunday. And I'm like, no. Like, if you become partners with us, we need you here on Wednesday night. We're going to partner together. We'll share the ministry all throughout the week to care for these families, not just rent the church. But we are currently looking for either a strong church plant or a church that's wanting to maybe put in a campus over here, or churches looking for space like this. Because if you would ask me 13 years ago to plug and play into a situation like this, I would have been like, that's heaven on earth. I was looking for a basement in somebody's church just to gather people. And you're saying we're trying to invite in the right partner to have access to everything I've been telling you guys. And we're doing it at a high level, this work, and it would be a perfect partnership for the right church. So we're prayerfully seeking that right now. But it hasn't been without its growing pains. I mean, there have been a lot of people who said when we decided to pause Sunday, like, you're killing the church. We can't go as this church is over because we don't have a Sunday morning church service. And I'm like, well, we do church 7 days a week. We're doing all these groups, discipleship, all this stuff. So it's been a little bit of a challenge. And there's been a few people that moved on, but it's also kind of shown us who's in. for the long haul with us. And so, yeah, it's been pretty good. It's been very challenging. Create new opportunities to learn, I guess. So, yeah.
Maybe you've got your future church planter that's already among you, and you're going to raise them up and equip them, and that's going to be your partner, is birthed within.
Yeah, we have a few. Yeah, we have a few potential candidates, but kind of identified right now. They're going to need a little more time to grow. We have some things in place there. So, and also, I just really feel like the Lord has revealed to us the next season for us is going to be a more decentralized, approach. And of course, raising up church planters is great, but it's kind of like, okay, let's figure this out right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we'd love to talk to anybody out there who is planting or who has those desires. We want to help equip and even train up, folks that want to learn how to do missional work in this context.
So there's a ton that new young leaders can learn from you and as is, for sure. And so that partnership and further equipping are a couple ways. Can you kind of tell us about the other ways that you're working on, of how the greater body of Christ throughout the Portland metro area can not just learn about as is, but partner and support and some of those things that you're not just in need of, but that have really become part of the vision of this next season for you?
Yeah, sure. So, we've been looking and seeking kingdom mindset. That's kingdom mindset. Us all working the big C church. And I thought, that's what we were about. Like we're all working together, and we have, in many ways, had many blessed with many partnerships and collaborations. What we're looking for in the future is to continue to build upon what has already started. Yeah, we faced some hardship, but we see a bright future ahead, but we still have a lot of work to do. Financially, like are there people out there who want to give even personally, whether it's $25 a month or $50 a month, or become a partner that way personally? There's church partnerships where we're looking at, hey, there might be a church out there who's taken a year-end giving campaign or a Christmas one-time gift. And if churches would love to partner with us and have us be the recipient of that from a kingdom mindset, I mean, you never know. There might be 25 grand, 50, 100, something that would help us continue to budget to serve and make a difference in the lives of these kids and families like that. Or if there are churches out there, I've talked to a few churches and leaders about, hey, it doesn't even have to be right now. If you could at least consider us or reach out to me on your next round of missions budget, because what we're really doing is just mission work. It's like on the daily. So if you have room on your missions budget, or if you'd ever want me to come share with your elder board or with your church some of these stories and all this, I do that as well. And so hearing the story, meeting some of the kids, meeting some of the families, we can bring them out too. It's just so powerful to see what the Lord is doing. And you can find out more by going to our websites. We have a couple different websites, asis.church. We'll go to the church site. For the underground, the youth work and all that, undergroundpdx.org. Those are the two main ways, and those will direct you to giving links to, you could even buy some underground swag on our page. We got these hoodies, this stuff. All of it goes towards funding the gym. And it's just a new kind of way we're doing things to help just give us the budget to keep our team. We have such an amazing team, and that's why we've gone all in this direction, is because we don't want to lose these young leaders. We have this group of about 5 or 6 of these early 20s recent graduates from Multnomah that are helping run this whole thing. We have to keep them going. We'll figure this out. And so that's how we're moving forward in that.
Scott, you're leading through a massive transition for As Is. Like, to hear and to know what some of the chapters of As Is life that you've led through, it's been very different. And to have this kind of clarity and opportunity, in this season is really significant. One of the things that has stuck with me for years now has been Rockwood described as the forgotten kind of strip, like that. The blocks you described, 160 out to 202 ish. So if you're not familiar with East Portland, it's the part of Portland that people kind of forget exists. And
Hey,
the way it
avoid.
was just and avoid now avoid, but the history that I was told early on was that it was the far east edge of Portland. And so Portland kind of forgot about it and didn't want to own it. And it was the far west edge of Gresham, which didn't quite match the rest of Gresham. And so Gresham didn't want to own it. And so you got two major cities or counties not wanting to own this area. And now we have what we have, right? Like very ethnically diverse, lower socioeconomic, high crime rate. Education is a struggle, high drug rate. Obviously, the gang stories you've mentioned, and so it's really it's a place in need of missionaries, as you've said. And so,
Oh
for
yeah.
the wider Big C kingdom-minded church that we all get to be a part of here, to come alongside and to actually see the as is that you see for the future, and to think about it differently, because that's not a normal ask, is, hey, help our work, but you're becoming a nonprofit missionary work that just looks different than a church plant. And so the ask and the invitation to us now as the wider church is a different thing. So if you're listening and you're not familiar with as is, seriously, first of all, go on to Maps, Google Maps, and look it up. But then secondly, go to the website and read about it and find it. And I actually I've been on your website quite a bit, but earlier today went on and saw those young leaders and have met some of them, and just God's doing something special through your work and through as is. And there's a ton of hope and good things that he wants to do in that strip of our city. And thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you so much.
I can't get the image of Mario handing you that letter. I can't get that out of my head. Think about how many more Marios are out there, that God's just waiting to raise up. But he's got to have the people there. He's got to have the ministry there to do it. And so we're going to be praying with you, Scott, and considering even our own involvement, and praying that God will raise up the army. I think Portland is the right city for this, because we really do see a unity of the body of Christ here. And so for all of those who are listening and you're shaking your head, yeah, we're unified. Let's put our money where our mouths are on that, and be people of unity to be a part of something like this in such an important part of our city. I'd love to just pray with you, Scott, as we wrap up our podcast today.
Thank you.
All right, let's pray. Father, for all those listening, watching, for us here right now, we pray that you would, Matt, well, first of all, we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for the place of Rockwood. We thank you for the people of Rockwood. We thank you for the fact that the gospel is perfect for Rockwood, that people are hungry and thirsty for this good news, and that there's a group that's living it out. And we pray that you would strengthen their hand, that you would bring more than they need, that you would raise up even more laborers and send more resources, and allow more of us to have a fingerprint on this ministry that can be that can be useful to bring that next Mario forward, to say thank you, and now I'm serving the Lord. And what a beautiful heritage and blessing this is. And we thank you that you've given Scott and his crew the boldness and the wherewithal to endure hard things, and to be creative, and to listen to your voice, and to never give up. And we just pray that you continue to bless them that way. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of Jesus in the Upper Left. We want to ask you a quick favor. Would you please subscribe so you don't miss a single episode, and share with those that are in your life that might benefit from the content. Hit the notifications button, rate and review, of course, and then head on over to upperleftshow.com, where you can find bonus content, opportunities to connect with those around the city that are doing similar work as you, resources to help you, and just a way to connect to the community. We hope to see you again next time.